How much should you, yes, you, have in your 401k at each decade in your life? Well, stay tuned because we're going to cover just that. And right off the bat, just to clarify, I use the term 401k as a catchy YouTube title, but really I just mean all retirement savings account. So this can be things like IRAs or 403bs or any type of account you use to save for retirement. And if you're on this side of YouTube, I'm sure you know by now that you should be investing in your retirement and how critical that is at this point in your life. But in case you're not, and assuming you're out of any nasty consumer debt, you should be contributing a minimum of 15% of your annual income towards your retirement. But if possible, I actually don't think 15% is good enough. You should try to push to get as close to 20% as possible, and anything you do on top of that is just another added bonus. That will really get you to the next level. But as long as you're investing and growing, it's also okay not to overthink things. As long as you're investing early in life and you're not just YOLOing everything on risky crypto investments or single stocks, then most likely you should be okay when you get to retirement age. But I personally have always found value in having a benchmark to compare myself to just to make sure that I'm on the right track. And if not, it allows me to adjust as quickly as possible to make sure I'm doing what I need to do to be ready. So hopefully you find this information inspiring and helpful as you navigate your retirement investing journey. And hopefully this will help you evaluate whether or not you're on the right track. But before we get started, make sure you hit that like button. And if you want more content just like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. Thanks. And obviously, I've also got to add the disclaimer that this is not official investment advice. I won't be making any recommendations on what stocks to pick or what funds to invest in. We are simply going over basic financial concepts, but make sure you research any specific investments you're interested in yourself. And if needed, make sure you also consult with an investment professional. All right, so if you're in your early 20s or if you're just getting started on your investing journey, the first thing you need to do is sit down, do some planning, and make some goals. You need to ask yourself questions like, what do I want my financial life to look like? And for the purposes of this video, what do I want my retirement to look like? First of all, finish your school, finish your training, and get started in your career. You don't have to have it all figured out yet career-wise at this stage in life. So just start working, try new things, and work on finding a career path that you want in your life. Also, before we jump into any retirement savings, also avoid any stupid debt at this age, or really any age. But people in their 20s tend to be super susceptible to really bad financial mistakes like using credit cards to supplement a lifestyle they cannot afford, or buying like a Tesla and taking out a stupid car loan on that. So save yourself the trouble and try to avoid this, but if you've already found yourself in a pickle, then you want to get out of debt before you start worrying too much about your retirement. So get that debt paid off. But like I said, we're not going to focus on that. This video is focusing on the saving and investing portion of personal finance. So you also need to do some planning regarding your retirement goals. Do you want a simple life where you have a small paid off condo and you travel? Or do you want to ball out in a huge mansion with Lamborghinis when you retire? Both options are fine. Those are just questions you need to ask yourself now so that you can plan accordingly. And to do this, come up with a ballpark estimate for how much money you think you'll need to live off in retirement. And make sure you adjust that number for inflation, considering money's going to be less valuable at the time you retire, most likely. Once you have that number on the amount you'll need to live off of annually, take it and multiply it by 25, and that's approximately going to be the total amount you'll need invested to support your retirement. So for example, if you wanted to live off $100,000 per year in retirement, you would take $100,000, multiply it by 25, and that'll tell you that you'll need to save and invest $2.5 million by the time you hit retirement age. And this is based off the 4% rule, which comes from the Trinity study, which basically concludes that you can withdraw 4% from your total retirement investments every year, and theoretically, you'll never run out of money. But the specifics for that study are for another video. But okay, that's enough talking from me. I promised you numbers, and I did the math on how much you're gonna need saved and invested at the end of each decade of your life to make sure that you're on track for your retirement goals. So let's look at the numbers. Well, according to the Motley Fool, the average person in their 20s has $35,800 saved up towards their retirement. And actually, this is way better than I expected it to be. But you'll quickly find later in this video that being average is not gonna cut it. You're gonna need to be way better off than the average person to have a sustainable retirement account. But for now, the average is pretty good. But let's stop comparing ourselves to others. Where should you be? Well, let's assume it took you a few years to finish school and get established in your career. So let's say you don't start saving and investing for your retirement until age 25. Well, the analysis shows that at the end of your 20s, the total amount that you should have saved up is 2.09% of your total retirement investment goal. So not your annual retirement income, but that total amount that we got by taking your desired income and multiplying it by 25. So let's look at the previous example we used, and let's say that your goal is to have $2.5 million saved up for retirement. That would mean by the end of your 20s to have that 2.09%, your total investment should add up to $52,236. And if you're like, okay, Connor, I get that number, but how much do I actually need to invest every month to get there? Well, it may seem like I'm just taking these numbers and pulling them out of nowhere, but trust me, it works. So if you're starting at age 25 and you're wondering how much do I need to invest every month to hit my goal? Well, take that total amount you want to have in retirement and divide it by 3,492. And that will give you the amount you need to invest every month starting at age 25 to hit your retirement goals. And that's assuming an average rate of return every year of 8%. So again, in our example, if we take our $2.5 million and divide it by 3,492, that tells us that we have to invest $716 every month to hit our goals with that rate of return, which isn't too bad. I think that amount's pretty reasonable to put aside every month. And if you're in this group, I just need to make sure I drive this point home. Your 20s are the best decade of your life for maximizing compound interest, and a little really does go a long way. So you want to get started investing right now. Do not put it off. All right, now that brings us to your 30s. And hopefully by the time you actually get to your 30s, you are established in your career and you made good financial decisions in the previous decade to help set you up for success. And if that's the case, really good job. Keep up the good work. I'm proud of you. But if you find yourself in your 30s and you're still just kind of getting started financially, that's okay. You still have time, but it is time to get serious and buckle down now. You've already missed the best decade of your life for taking advantage of compound interest. Calm down, because in your 30s, you still have time to take advantage of it, and you still have plenty of time to plan a great retirement. If you are completely out of crappy consumer debt, other than a mortgage and maybe like a reasonable car payment, then you need to cut that crap out right now, get it paid off, because it's time to start making better financial decisions. If you've been investing steadily and wonder how you shape up, well, here's the numbers. The average retirement savings from age 35 to age 44, and I know these ages don't exactly add up with our decades, but oddly, most firms structure their data using this date range format instead of just going purely by decade. So we've got to roll with what they give us. But anyway, from age 35 to age 44, the average retirement savings is $141,250, which again is actually pretty good. But keep paying attention because we're already seeing a gap between the average and where you should be, and how the average is falling behind. Now, the analysis shows that in order to reach your planned retirement goal, you should aim to have 9.67% of your total retirement goal saved up by the time you're done with your 30s. But if you're 31 and watching, don't panic. I mean by the time you're 39, 364 days old. So make sure you realize you still have a whole decade till you're done with your 30s. So with our previous example of the goal of having $2.5 million saved up for retirement, that would mean that at the end of your 30s, you want to have roughly $241,000 saved up. And if you started at age 35, you could theoretically just keep investing the same $716 a month to stay on track with your goal. You shouldn't need to adjust anything. But what if you didn't start in your 20s? Let's say you're 30 years old and you're just getting started on your investment journey right now. Well, if you're starting at age 30, you need to invest $1,074 every month just to achieve that same goal of $2.5 million in retirement. So even just waiting 5 years is going to cost you a few hundred extra bucks a month just to reach the same goal because you missed out on that compound interest. But that's okay. That's not too bad. And 30 bucks isn't too old. It's not too late. So calm down. You can still do this. I'm just trying to help paint a picture for why you should get started investing as soon as possible. But if you have a different goal and you're just starting now at age 30, simply take the total amount of investments that you want to have at age 65, and this time divide it by 2,328. And that'll give you the amount you need to invest every month to hit your goal. And again, that's assuming an average rate of return of 8%. All right, by the time you get to your 40s, you're definitely starting to lose some of that compounding power for any dollars that you invest at this age. But at the same time, hopefully you're continuing to build your career and your earning potential can help make up for some of that lost compound interest as you work to peak in your career. As your income grows, hopefully you make the wise choice to keep up with your investing and your finances and take advantage of any income increases you get to maximize your investment situation. Don't forget, it never hurts to be ahead of schedule with your investments. So keep your foot on the gas, definitely enjoy life, but also stay focused. I really hope by now that you've taken your retirement seriously and have at least gotten started. But if not, this needs to be your wake-up call, because at this point you are super behind. But you still have some time to dig yourself out of the hole if you start right now. So really look at your entire financial picture and honestly evaluate if you're on the right track or if you need a step on the gas. According to NerdWallet, the average retirement for ages 45 to 54 is approximately $313,000. Which sounds great, but it's not even close to what you're gonna need to have a sustainable retirement. The math shows that to be on track, you need to have 26.04% of your total retirement goal saved up by the end of your 40s. So again, hypothetically, if your goal was to save up $2.5 million for retirement, you should have roughly $650,000 invested by the time you get to the end of your 40s. But if you're at age 40 and you're just getting started, again, needs to be a wake-up call. In order to achieve that goal of $2.5 million, you would need to invest $2,514 a month. So think about that. If you started at age 25, you'd only have to invest $714, but just 15 years later, that number has more than tripled. And I hope that just demonstrates the power of compound interest and why you should start early. And how if you wait, saving for retirement can get super expensive. If your retirement goals are different and you're saving up towards a different total amount and you're just starting at age 40, then take your total retirement goal and divide it by 995. That'll tell you how much you need to invest monthly to hit your goal, assuming an average rate of return of 8%. All right, and that brings us to the 50s and 60s. The final stretch. Again, at this phase of life, your income should be the highest that it's ever been. So really take advantage of that to maximize your investments, or use it to catch up if you find that you're behind. But don't slow up. Right now is not the time to get lazy. You've almost reached your financial goals. As far as the numbers go, according to NerdWallet, the average retirement for someone aged 55 to 64 is roughly $537,000, which again, probably sounds great, but it's really not enough. For context, using the 4% rule, that amount would only give you $21,500 a year to live off of, and that's not even adjusted for inflation. It's gonna be really tough to live on. To hit whatever total retirement goal you've set for yourself, you'll need to have 61% of that total retirement goal saved up by the time you hit age 60. So if you're following along with this hypothetical scenario of having the goal of saving $2.5 million for retirement, that means that by the end of your 50s, you need to have $1.5 million saved up. But it's crazy to think, because of compound interest, that last 5 years is what's gonna get you that remaining $1 million, which is just insane. But anyway, I hope that breakdown was helpful for you. Keep in mind that this math factors in a constant rate of return of 8%. And if we know anything, we know that the market is very unpredictable and the numbers are never gonna be this clean. So always make sure you're reflecting and looking at your numbers and making sure that you're in a good spot. But hopefully this at least gives you some guidelines that will help you assess whether or not you're on the right track. And again, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks everyone.